VC, how are you doing? George back with another video. Today I'm showing vinyl finds from the last 2 or 3 weeks. Got 10 LPs to show you, 5 jazz, 5 other bits and pieces. So I was in my local record shop maybe a couple of weeks ago, and had this in his new finds, and it's public service broadcasting. It's a 12-inch EP from 2013. It's called The War Room. I seen them live about 5 years ago, so a wee bit of fan. I've maybe had about 5 albums, I think. And so they're quite impressive really for a 12-inch single. I mean, I remember back in the day you got a 12-inch single like here. There was no inner in it. The record was chucked inside a sleeve. Anyway, yeah, so I was surprised they had this. I was going to get it back in the time. Yeah, I've got maybe 3 there. I think they've maybe got about 5 albums, and they're all very themed. But a 12-inch single, the time you pay £4 shipping or whatever. It's too expensive. So I don't buy a lot of 12-inch singles or singles for that very reason. I'd rather pick up an album of sorts. But so, public service broadcasting, a 3-piece band formed in 2013 in England, and what they do is they use samples from old BBC broadcasts from the war and round about those times, and from movies, and when they're playing live they'll have a big screen and all these war things or whatever the theme is, and 3 of them play in front, so they're just generally drums, bass, and the main guy plays keyboards, and does he play bass? Never mind. He plays a bit banjo and things, quite bizarre, but I was always into samples of music. I mean, Bill Nelson done it years ago, and David Sylvian, and I think Robert Fripp done a bit of it. So I always liked that, and that's what drew me to this band. So £12 for an EP, it's second hand, but obviously hold their price. So you've got tracks on this for If War Should Come, London Can Take It, Spitfire, which is a big song of theirs, Dig for Victory, and Waltz for George. So glad to pick this up, and the War Room. And they also had this one, which couldn't leave either. And this is called White Star Liner. Another, I think it's a 4-track 12-inch EP this time. Yeah, the hype sticker is stick on it. I mean, 180 grams, it's pretty good. And then you've got a wee. So they were commissioned by the BBC to do a song for the Titanic in Belfast. There must have been a festival, the Titanic Museum's in Belfast Harbour. So they came up with 4 tracks and performed them live at the gig or whatever it was, and put it on a record. So pleased to get this. Didn't know anything about it, and so that's public service broadcasting, 2 12-inch EPs. And the same time, from a local shop, I picked up this on ECM. This is Jan Garbarek with Agnes Buen Garnas. It's on the black ECM label from 1989. Yeah, so it's Norwegian medieval songs from Norway. That's quite a nice pick there. Yeah, so it's only Jan on, he plays all the instruments, and Agnes, she sings on the 9 tracks, I think it is, 9 tracks. So, I mean, it sounded familiar in loads of ways. It sounded a bit Gaelic to me, Scottish, Irish, Gaelic, Celtic music. But obviously it sounds very modern with Jan with his instruments, and it's got a bit of he's brought some Eastern, he doesn't say what he plays here, but there's a bit of an Eastern sound in it too, so it goes for Celtic folk music. And we've got a bit Eastern sounds in there too. Real interesting album. It's a wee bit of Kate Bush. I don't know if Kate Bush heard this or not. It was maybe after. No, don't know. But there's a wee bit of Kate Bush in this somewhere. Maybe she was influenced by it too. So great album. It's called Rosen Foal. Rosen Foal. That's the name of it. Pleased to pick up that. Then I picked up Bert jansch album. I think this was on eBay. Bert jansch From the Outside from 1985, and it's on Connection labels. I think it was a Belgian label. So this was only released in Belgium at the time, 500 copies. I'm pleased to get a copy, although you can probably find a copy fairly cheaply. It was reissued by Earthworks in 2016. I think they've done a couple of coloured variants with a different different cover. But I'm glad to pick up the Belgian original. Yeah, so there's about 12, 11 tracks on it. Half it was recorded in London and half in Copenhagen in Norway. And there's a few other musicians on this, I think. Anyway, it's pretty personal, folk music. Bert jansch, still making great music in 1985. Fantastic guitarist, and yeah, glad to get anything by Bert, especially on this LP. And also picked up on, I think I got on Discogs, yeah, Bert jansch Sketches. This only got a German issue at the time, so there's maybe CDs, but from 1990, it's never been reissued. And is it Hypertension label? And we insert here ever faithful Danny Thomas on bass, and we've got on guitar Peter Kirtley joining Bert. There's 2 or 3 other musicians, but as I said, it's always very intimate, an album by Bert jansch, and it can be just him and you, really. You listen to fantastic guitar again, and proud Scotsman, to a proud Scotsman, Bert jansch. Great album, 1990. Again, you pick this up surprisingly cheaply, considering it was only released in Germany. Right, on to the jars, and from the LT Classic Series from 1979 to 1981, 3 years, they released about 40 odd albums, and I'm glad to pick up Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, and it's Africaine it's called. I don't know why spell it French, Africa. And we've got Wayne Shorter on tenor sax, which I think this was his first album with the Jazz Messengers, and he wrote the 3 tracks on the first side. Lee Morgan on trumpet, and he wrote the 3 tracks on side 2. Walter Davis piano, and Jimmy Merritt on bass. And yeah, this was recorded in 1959. Quite crazy, it took till 1980 to get a release. I'm glad to add this to my collection. I'm sure I'll get a reissue at some point. Some Blue Note White Bee. And also picked up at the same time Harold Land, and that's Harold Land playing in the background there. Take Aim. Yeah, shocking covers. And this was from 1960, it was recorded. Harold Land on tenor saxophone, Martin Banks on trumpet, Amos Trice on piano, Clarence Jones on drums, and Leon Pettis on drums also. Maybe from maybe a couple of different sessions in there. That's it playing in the background. Yeah, it's a good album. I'm always glad to pick any of these LPs up. They're new age covers. American Issues. And seen this in the Jazz Bums a few weeks ago and picked up a copy. And it's Blue Mitchell, the Cup Bearers. This is on Riverside. Yeah, Jazz Bums showed it. I think it's quite a hard LP to find. Hardly issued. I think in 1963 it was recorded and hadn't been issued a hell of a lot. This is a 1988 UK copy. So pleased to get this because it's quite hard to find. Blue Mitchell on trumpet, Junior Cook on tenor sax, Cedar Walton on piano, Gene Taylor on bass and Roy Brooks on drums. There you go, that's that. Last week I picked up Pharaoh Sanders, Black Unity on Impulse. And this is part of the Third Man reissue series. I think it's part of the 180 grams Verve by Request. It's not the new Third Man series. Too many series going out, different issues. So you've got Pharaoh Sanders, Norman Connors, Lawrence Killen, Stanley Clark on bass and Joseph Bonner. I think we've got Cecil McBee on bass too on this, just from 1970 I think, round about then. Approximately 1970, and it's you know, Pharaoh Sanders was so influenced by John Coltrane, and there's the underlying love supreme on this, not as obvious as other albums, and it's basically one song, part one on one side and part two on side two, and starts off quite, I mean, we're filing on this under spiritual jazz, I guess. Starts off quite a nice tempo, goes into the crazy stuff, and then they find the Lord at the end of it, basically. But it's a good album to have. Maybe not for everyone, maybe a bit sort of out there in bits. Yeah, I enjoy it. Sounds good, although it will be a digital, from digital, analog to digital, I would think. So that's Black Unity by Pharaoh Sanders. And last but not least, Ike Quebec, Heavy Soul, yeah, from the Blue Note Classic series. I think we got this last week, came out. So Ike Quebec, tenor sax, Freddie Roach organ, Milt Hinton on bass, and Al Harewood on drums. We've got 9 tracks on this, and 4093, first recorded in 1962. Heavy Soul, yeah, and it's a wee bit, it's really good. You got Freddie Roach on organ, but you also have Milt Hinton doing the bass, so it's not overly organ, and it reminds me a wee bit like Eddie Lockjaw Davis, you know, with the tenor sax and organ playing off each other. It's a real good album. I'll play out with a bit the starter track. Really enjoying this album. £22, can't beat it. Ike Quebec, Heavy Soul, go and buy it. Okay, see you soon, hopefully. Bye now.